I don't get host clubs. Now, I don't mean I don't get the appeal of paying money to have sexy boys treat you like a princess. I get that part. What I don't get is how they're plastered across every billboard in Kabukicho, advertising the lie they're selling to customers and flaunting their most successful hosts like celebrities, showing off just how good they are at taking women's money. It's just weird that people are so indifferent to being deluded that they're not just okay with, but celebrate having their delusions paraded around and sold in front of them to other people lining up to buy these same delusions. It's like gambling, I get. Drugs, I get. But this is like if, before handing you that first hit of smack, your dealer was like, fair warning, this is probably not only going to ruin your life for, conservatively, the next few years, but if you ever do manage to get free, you'll spend the rest of your years looking back over your shoulder at the monster you became, wondering if you're ever really free, if you'll ever truly be free. An ever-present shadow of regret and doubt haunting you until you eventually keel over and die. But hey, you'll forget all your problems and feel really, really good for like the next couple of hours. It's the fucking honesty that kills me. So when I hear people rave about this anime that glorifies the single biggest paradox of modern Japanese culture, I've just kind of turned away and been like, yeah, okay, sure. But I decided to finally watch Ouran High School Host Club, and what I found under this shiny, cutesy exterior is one of the smartest, most thoughtful, subversive anime ever produced. From the start, Ouran High School Host Club completely upends its entire premise. It takes place in this hyper-elite school for the 0.1% of the 0.1%, for rich boys and girls with nothing better to do than play house. This is the exact opposite of the host narrative. Basically, the only people who become hosts are those who come from nothing trying to make it big. Penniless country boys throwing themselves into the Tokyo nightlife, knowing this horrible industry is their only chance to really make it in the big city. And the vast majority of people who spend money on host clubs aren't rich girls, but poor girls trying to make something of themselves by working high-paying jobs in the sex industry, and having to deal with the cost of that success, of having their dignity trampled on day in and day out, by throwing money at men who will treat them like a princess in exchange for more and more money, trapping them in a vicious cycle of earning money to pay for the consequences of earning that money. A host club is not a playground for the super rich. It's an industry built entirely on nobodies chasing dreams of being rich. No one involved is living the life they pretend to, and so a rich school for rich kids with too much free time is literally the furthest you could possibly be removed from the actual reality of host clubs.
いや待て。俺は飲む。飲んでみせるぞ。
And the first thing Ouran High School Host Club does is it takes this inverted premise and upends it again with its main character, the penniless scholarship student, Haruhi, who made it into the most prestigious school in the country by virtue of her own hard work, who stumbles into the host club room where she gets pushed around before accidentally breaking a vase and told she has to pay $80,000 to replace it. See, the other dark side of these host clubs is luring women into these bars and trapping them with a ridiculous bill they can't conceivably pay, and then offering them one way they could actually pay off that debt. Haruhi's debt is the extremely predatory equivalent of modern-day slavery that is a dark reality of host clubs.
金がなけりゃ体で払え。
So, the story takes money completely out of the picture by setting it in this elite high school, but puts it right back into the narrative, but again takes it out completely when you realize that not only would this be a trivial amount of money for any of the members, there's at least one more identical vase in this exact room, putting into question exactly how valuable it was in the first place. It's subversion upon subversion upon subversion, and as we'll get to see, that is exactly the point of Ouran High School Host Club. If you ask any of the characters in the show what the point of the host club is, they'll tell you that it's about treating girls like princesses. That's obviously not true. None of these girls need hosts to treat them like princesses. That's the point of their entire life, to be doted on as a marketing chip, to be literally treated like a princess. Why on earth would they come here for more of that?
なんでこんな部があるのかもさっぱりだ。
And the thing is, they don't come here to be treated like a princess. The hosts don't come here to treat them like princesses. They're all gathered there, like all who come to host clubs in the real world, for dreams. But not dreams of money or success. No, they have that. They come to the host club to dream about themselves. Sure, the customers have their dreams brought to life. The engaged lovers, the young boy and girl, the Nekozawa siblings. Even Renge gets to have her eroge fantasies. But the real dreamers are none other than the hosts themselves, who hold up these dreams as a mirror to see themselves for who they really are. In Ouran High School Host Club, every single one of the characters is some kind of stereotype, and it's through understanding and breaking down each of these stereotypes that we get to understand each of the characters.
男とか女とか外見とか人間大切なのは中身でしょ?
This is what I think is so clever about this story. It's only through understanding the outside that we get to understand the inside. And the easiest one to understand is the twins, because not only do they just straight up tell you what's wrong with them, in their episode, Kyoya is even reading No Longer Human, a famous Japanese novel about a man unable to be himself and always tries to make everyone around him laugh, so they never get a chance to see what's really inside. Kaori and Hikaru are completely inseparable. They're always together, always playing off each other, always pretending to be each other. Inside the club, they are the BL brothers, inflaming the hearts and pussies of girls through the arm of taboo, pretending to toe this line between right and wrong. Day in and day out, girls cheer on as again and again they play the same scene of forbidden lovers swooning in each other's arms. It's a fantasy they seemingly never tire of playing for the pleasure of any who come to watch. But look closer and you'll find this fantasy isn't for the woman, it's for them. Since they were kids, they've been afraid that being twins, being so alike, people wouldn't see them as individuals. And to escape from this reality, they made sure that no one ever could.
ずっと二人きりの世界の中で傷つかないで済むようにとても頑丈な鍵をかけている
Because if people only ever saw them as a stereotype, then they would only ever have to be that stereotype. If there were a reason they didn't have any friends, why only they would ever be there for each other, why only they could understand each other, then that would always be the reason.
もう少し遊べたかもね。でもさ、もうがっかりさせられんのはごめんだしね。
So they started playing this game of who's who with every single person they met, asking, can you tell us apart? And they're so alike that no one can. And even when people do, they lie.
僕らは常に矛盾している。二人を見分けてほしい。見分けてほしくない。僕らのことを知ってほしい。知ってほしくない。
But the reason they're so alike is because they've spent so much time together, hiding from the loneliness of individuality. They hid from other people, avoided making friends, and trapped themselves in this identity. And the closer they grew, the harder and harder it was to break free of it. But no matter how close they grow, they can never escape the reality that they aren't the same.
カオルは一人だと割と常識人っぽいし落ち着いてるよ。ヒカルは一人でもうるさいし非常識。
So they keep falling back on this trope because they don't know how to be individuals. They know they're each their own person, but letting other people see them as who they really are, as individuals, is the one thing they fear the most. And while they know they can't go on like this forever, they also know how hard it is to look yourself in the mirror and accept yourself for who you really are. So they don't. So when they go to the host club, when they play into this BL twin fantasy, it isn't for the customers, it isn't for the pleasure of screaming girls, it's for them. They hide behind this fantasy so they never have to confront the existential horror of their own being. They are the ones who built this fantasy, and they are the ones that use it to escape, hoping for, yet dreading the day this dream has to end.
もう一歩先に進みたいって気づき始めちゃったらそうしたら僕は どうしようかな。
Honey is this cutesy Shota boy who, for almost all of the story, likes cake and bunnies and almost nothing else. But then we see his past struggles of trying to live up to his family's values, the Hani Nozoka way of cold, hard discipline. We see him struggle trying to prove himself worthy of being a Hani Nozoka, trying to find true strength by avoiding sweets and moe, the pleasures of the flesh. But this hurt him because it isn't who he really is, and Tamaki finds him and sees his pain and tells him that whatever this is isn't worth fighting for, because true strength lies in having the courage to accept the things you really love. And the one thing he really loves is apparently eating a shitload of cake. Or is it? His father tells him to find true strength through discipline, and he throws away all his bunnies and cute things and gives up sweets completely. But when Tamaki tells him that true strength is in being okay with the things you like, he reverts to the complete opposite, becoming overly cute, gluttonous, and indulgent. But that opposite isn't who he really is either, because that tough, hard exterior is hiding somewhere in there. It wasn't just his family's wishes. He is a Hani Nozoka, and that's part of him too. That's why when he wakes up, he's this cold, violent man. Why Tamaki says he has a split personality. He doesn't, but in burying this masculine side down under his cutesy side, it comes roaring out when his conscious mind is at its weakest. Honey realizes that while he isn't this tough, disciplined fighter, this gluttonous pig isn't quite him either. So when his brother comes to challenge him to try and take his brother back, Honey vows, if he loses, to give up eating cake in the middle of the night. And Mori, knowing Honey better than anyone, predicts Honey will concede the fight to his brother because he sees his gesture for what it is, a compromise. But Honey doesn't lose. Once again, he defeats his brother, choosing the path of cake and gluttony over his family. He gives up his family, gives up this compromise, and chooses even more cake because he still isn't satisfied with who he is.
お菓子好きと可愛いもの好きはハニー先輩のチャームポイントってことになってるんだけど、私的にはこの安易なキャラ設定のぬるさには納得できない。これだけじゃいまいち何か足りない。
Because it isn't about cake or discipline. He chooses cake over his brother because he's still searching for that strength, for who he really is as a person. Is cake really who he is, what he really wants, or is it just a crutch? Choosing his brother means accepting that there's something wrong with his current self, and because he still doesn't know where his true self lies, he rejects his brother, rejects having to look himself in the mirror, and instead chooses to bury himself in more cake. As the episode ends, he gazes into the sunset, once again mulling over Tamaki's words, wondering what true strength really is, and if he'll ever find it.
それこそが本当の強さではないんですか。
Tamaki made the host club because he feels trapped, wanting to be his own man, but feeling pressured to fit into the role left for him by his family. The illegitimate son of a wealthy father and his foreign mistress, Tamaki comes to Japan as his father's heir when his mother goes bankrupt. His grandmother offers to protect his mother as a compromise if he vows to leave behind this shameful mark on their family. So, Tamaki, friendless and alone, comes to Japan where he creates the host club to escape from the tragic loneliness of his life. Torn apart from his real family and his birth mother, only to fail to live up to the expectations set for him as the illegitimate son of his father. He has a family, but it's not something he can consider a family. A family is stability and safety. A family is a home. But having to leave behind the person he cares for the most, his mother, he wonders if he can truly call his current family a family, knowing what he really is to them, an unfortunate pawn. To him, the host club has become his family because it's a place of warmth and stability. That's why he is the father and Kyoya is the mother. That's why all these members are all these different stereotypes. The host club is a fantasy, and fantasies don't change. They don't have to, they're not real. Tamaki looked reality in the face and created the host club so he'd have somewhere to belong. And that's exactly why the mother of the host club, Kyoya, is so drawn to it. Kyoya always felt trapped in his life as the third son, being expected to live up to the accomplishments of his older brothers, but never being able to obtain their status. His life is one of always chasing excellence, but never being able to achieve it. But when he meets Tamaki, this gets turned completely upside down. At first, he's angry at him, jealous of this boy who has everything he ever wanted, to be the first son, but spends his time being a goofy fucking idiot. Kyoya has spent his entire life only knowing what's expected of him, perfection, and yet here's this boy who only wants a friend. And so he takes Tamaki's friendship as some kind of contest, some kind of test to conquer, because that's exactly how he's seen every single other aspect of his life. But the irony of Kyoya's character is that he hasn't conquered anything. Nothing he's done has been his own free will. He's merely been following the path set for him by others.
なんだ努力してないのはお前の方だろ兄貴たちを超えたきゃ超えればいい何もしてないのに諦めてるのはお前の方だ
So what he comes to admire about Tamaki is that he isn't bound by any expectations. Tamaki sees life for how it is, rather than how the people around him expect it to be. Tamaki sees this fantasy for what it is, a fantasy, and for Kyoya, that's exactly what he needs, the power to dream. That's why he plays the role of the cool perfectionist. It's the fantasy of actually trying to be perfect instead of merely pretending to that enabled him to break free of the prison of his mind and be the man he always wanted to be. That's why he hangs out with Tamaki.
こいつの世界を共有したら何かこれまでとは違う風景が俺にも見えてくるような気がした
That's why when saying this, he looks down at his tea and sees his own reflection, because you can only see yourself with a mirror. And that's why the story plays up each of these roles, each of these stereotypes, because each one is a mirror held up to their own self. The host club is a mirror for each of the members. That's the reason they all come to the host club, because in playing the role of the dream, it allows them to be the dreamers, and through these dreams, face themselves. When Haruhi tells Renge,
枠で人を測ってたら本当に大切なものが何も見えなくなるよ
this is a huge bit of irony because putting people in boxes is exactly the point of the host club, and it's about taking these boxes and using them as a mirror precisely to see what's important. Honey, through the lens of Shota, sees his own lack of strength. The twins, through the lens of Taboo, see their own lack of individuality. Kyoya, through the lack of perfection, sees his own lack of resolve. Tamaki, through the lens of family, sees his own lack of love. And this is the point of Haruhi's character, who comes to the host club and sees her own lack of dreams. What she learns being surrounded by all these dreamers, by all these men dressing up to create dreams, is that it's okay to dream. That's why her literal dream, when she falls asleep in the host club, is Alice in Wonderland, which is about the playful innocence of childhood, and why her dreams tell her,
学生生活は勉強だけが全てじゃないだろ
他に何があるんです
楽しいことが
楽しいこと
楽しいことだよ
The host club is a dream, and that's why it's so important to her.
だけどホストになって女の子にチヤホヤされるのも悪くないですね
Ever since losing her mother, Haruhi's buried herself in her studies, never stopping to smell the roses, never taking the time to be a kid so that she can make her single father's life just a little bit easier. And while it's important to work hard, it's also important to stop and have fun once in a while, to lift your head up to see where you're going. And the host club is, to each of these members, a mirror. What the host club gives Haruhi is the freedom to dream. Just like all of the other members, she's selling a dream, but the real dreamer is Haruhi herself.
夢のような学生生活か確かにこれじゃ寝ても覚めてもあまり変わらないな
Hey, fun fact, was anyone aware that Alice in Wonderland has been translated into Japanese 33 times? What the fuck? That's weird, right? I'm not the only one that thinks this is weird. Step on the like button if this was a fun fact. So anyway, this is the point of the conflict between Ouran and Lobelia and the Zuka Club to make Haruhi the real princess of the story. Who are the real princes is an open question. The boys cross-dressing as princesses to play prince for girls. Are they the real princes? Or are the girls cross-dressing as princes for a girls' school play? Are they the real princes? What never changes, however, is that Haruhi is always the princess. That's why Haruhi gets to be Cinderella, riding in the horse-drawn carriage through a pumpkin patch. They're all dreams. Every trope, every stereotype in Ouran High School Host Club is a mirror reflecting the hopes and dreams of all the characters throughout the show. It is subversion upon subversion upon subversion, and in the end, it recontextualizes the entire story by subverting itself one last time.
かくしてオーランホスト部とは暇を持て余す美少年たちが同じく暇な女生徒たちをもてなし潤ます。
These are not rich boys and girls playing house. Hosts are people that pursue money and fame for the freedom to do what they want. But these are people who have the money to do anything, but not the freedom to. It's about people chasing dreams to find out what their dreams even are. Ouran High School Host Club is about people who dare to dream. And isn't that what we all dream we could be? So, the reason everyone was so obsessed with this show, why is it so good? It's simple. It's one of the smartest pieces of entertainment to ever come out of Japan. It understands its subject matter, understands its characters, understands anime, and most importantly, understands itself, and so is able to subvert every single one of these things time and time again. And if I'm being honest, I'm not sure why we don't see more people talking about it now, because I think it's more relevant now than it's ever been. In the West, but probably in Japan too, now that the reality of host clubs has been dragged kicking and screaming into the limelight via the internet. All of the subversions of this show are so much more real. Lastly, and this is something most people probably missed, is that the point of Haruhi's character is that she's not special or unique. Sure, she's a god with the power to will anything in and out of existence, but what does she go and do with the... Huh? Was that... That's a different Haruhi? There were two extremely popular anime that aired in the mid-2000s about a girl named Haruhi. What, was that the popular baby name in 1990? That's really fucking confusing. Well, sounds like you better go watch that video while we contemplate the meaning of existence.